as I always say, the real goal here is to just trick you into having a pregame discussion at your table, right? But there's still some things we could clarify and do a little bit better job at. So one of the things we're trying to do here, we're going to talk about a lot of things today. One of the things we're going to try and do here is clarify a few things. I want to say also, I guess at the top, that one that we did last month that was really exciting is we had this event called the Commander Summit here at Wizards. We at Wizards offered everyone on the Commander Format panel, which is a group of 16 different individuals, to fly them out, put them up at Wizards for 3 days, and we had meetings and talked about the future of Commander and even played some upcoming products to get their feedback on stuff. So it was a really, really amazing time, and a lot of the discussions for what we're going to be talking about today fell out of that. So we're going to talk about some Commander brackets and some changes to those, and then also at the end we're going to cover just some topics that are on our minds.
Yeah.
And I would love your feedback on, so please give us all of that
Hey,
wonderful feedback.
Commander bracket update.
So maybe I should get into the first.
Yeah. We're going to start by talking about the brackets kind of overall, and then we're going to dive into a number of individual topics. Again, talk to us a little bit about where the bracket's at now.
Yeah, totally. So we're making a couple small adjustments to brackets today, and we also wanted to provide a little bit more clarity around what we expect.
This just started.
What we expect at each bracket, and
Is it loud enough? Can people hear this well?
You should expect at each bracket in a couple different ways. So the article will have some language around this, but I want to give a big shout out to Rachel Weeks, who did a lot of great work to make her own little infographic. She's been doing these for a while.
Yep.
And we thought, how about elevate that?
Yeah, Rachel's really great.
A little bit, and then she'll have it out on social
They
media.
got her helping out
today. So let's go ahead and bring that infographic up on screen. There's a lot of text here. I'm not expecting you to all take it in right away, but a couple things I want to call out in particular. So we still have 5 brackets. That's not changing.
Okay.
But for each bracket, we're talking about a few different things here as kind of our expectations. What you expect around the decks in that bracket, what you expect around the win conditions in that bracket, what you expect the gameplay to be in that bracket, and then a big one a lot of players have asked for, how many turns that you can generally expect a game in that bracket to be able to end on. We tried to figure out the best terminology for this, and what we're trying to figure out is what turn the game's going to end on, because that's tough to know. You're not always sure when that's going to be. The first player that's eliminated plays a number of different turns than the last player who's eliminated. But we wanted to kind of call out how many turns you can expect the game to go before anybody wins or loses.
The Boseiju background,
in
yeah.
bracket 3 upgraded, everyone can expect to play at least 6 turns before winning and losing starts. So on the 7th turn, if somebody starts winning the game, or someone loses the game or gets knocked out, that's okay, right?
Okay, look at this. They got turns?
Where in core, bracket 2, you want to play at least 8 turns before anybody wins or loses. So on turn 9, players can start maybe knocking other folks out. Obviously, Commander's a game with a lot of cards in it. Every now and then, a game might end earlier than this. It's not like a hard and fast thing. It's just directionally what we're going for here.
Yeah.
But we're hopeful that will give a little more guidance on things. There's also 3 other changes that if you're looking around, you'll kind of notice.
Yeah, there's no tutor
talk.
talk.
I want to talk is about Exhibition. So when we first introduced Exhibition,
Expedition, I guess.
the idea was really this would be the place for like your super thematic decks.
Yeah.
That's not changing. We just want to really double down on that a little bit. If you're building a deck here, it should really all be about theme. Like at the top, you see the decks here are prioritizing goals, themes, or ideas over power. And a big piece of this is, while we want to emphasize that Rule 0 is active, and especially at this level, right? It's a great place to be like, hey, I'm playing my un-commander. I'm playing
a
my
bit louder than my
card
voice.
commander.
I'm louder than the stream?
If you have, while we still have
make
the
the
no
stream
game changers
louder.
rule, you see there's this asterisk on there. If you sit down at your table and you're like, hey, I'm playing my Bolas themed deck and I have Bolas' Citadel, everyone will be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, go ahead, right? So it's really a strong place for theme, and we want to really encourage people who are building bracket 1 to lean into that theme and not feel like, well, I can't include any time walks in my time travel themed deck, right? Like that makes a lot of sense. And I'll say that folks who have built bracket 1 decks have been really enjoying it so far. I've seen a lot of really cool, unique decks out there.
Changes to bracket 1, I'm kind of
that's awesome.
not super
Something
invested in.
I
I felt like
want
bracket
to talk
1 was
about.
never
We've even talked about a bit
problem.
in some of our panels and things.
Why can't you find a source? Because the article's going to come out at 11 when the stream ends.
From the pre-con connection.
There was a lot of discussion around that when that was the initial framing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was good intention. We're like, hey, it'd be really good to have a clear post that's like, hey, precons fall here. If you buy precon, it ends up here.
I don't think
Dualcast
or Heat Shimmer counts as
the first is not all
onboard
precons are created equal,
precons.
right? A Modern Horizons 3 precon and a starter precon or a Secret Lair precon or whatever are all very different.
Yep.
And so they don't necessarily fall in one bucket. And it was causing a lot of people to have
I'm glad the
challenges there.
precon
And then also
wording
like,
is gone.
we just, it's caused us some challenges. We put a game changer in a precon that was out there. There was an infinite combo in a precon that we just didn't even notice and made it out into the world, right? And it's like, well, that's maybe not sending the best message.
Yeah,
The other thing that makes
the
it
article will come
complicated
out at
is
11.
precons have changed a lot. A lot of people who've been playing for a while have an idea of what a precon was 5, 6, 7 years ago, which is so different from what precons are today. And so we wanted to just decouple that a little bit, and also and kind of take that away. Which I think also means that a lot of folks who were playing at 3 might slide down into 2. They're like, oh, my deck's
Sure.
not a precon. The third thing that we're removing is, and the last kind of change we're making to the way the brackets work, is we're removing the tutor restriction.
Yes, they removed
we
the
said
tutor
few
restrictions.
tutors previously. We
Yes.
didn't really give any guidance around what
Finally,
few
holy
meant, because
cow.
it was a little confusing. And since then, we have put a bunch of tutors on the game changer list.
Yeah.
The strongest ones, demonic tutors on the game changer list, enlightened tutor, a lot of that stuff's on the game changer list now. And we think that's
Most
just
combos
a
are not
better
on
way
board.
to kind
Critter, is it
of
on
monitor
board?
and mitigate the
Welcome
tutor
before it
thing.
happens.
Because if you say, let's say most websites are taking few tutors as being 3 tutors, right? Well, if you already can't play the strongest tutors, the 4th tutor you're going to put in your deck is like so far down the list of the tutors you're excited about. If you're filling your deck with 4 and 5 mana black tutors, it's not as problematic, right?
Right.
And it might make the game play out the same way a little bit every time, but it's going to be much slower. It's not going to be as big of an issue. So we want to kind of take the tutor restriction off and let the game changer list deal with the strongest tutors that are out there.
Makes sense.
And those are the 3 biggest changes. Like I said, this is kind of a graphic that Rachel whipped up. Great job to Rachel. She did a lot of work on this, showed it to us. We talked about it a bunch. She'll have this out on her own social media later, just as a little bit of a guideline for what we kind of expect at each level, which players have been asking about.
Yeah. Now, chat is continuing to ask questions. They have many questions, but one of them is about game changers. So, with these updates to the brackets, are there also going to be any changes to the game changers list?
Wow, Blake. I'm so glad you asked. It's like you know what we're talking about today. Yeah,
feel
there
like
are
they just
some
don't have
updates
as
to the
many
game changer
testing.
list we're going to be talking about today.
Like they just don't have enough people testing it.
So one of the things I
yeah.
talked about in the last article that we wrote is
We're gonna record the
we're gonna be
podcast
looking at
today, so we'll talk
philosophy
about this
for what
on the
makes a
pod.
game changer a game changer. And that's actually one of the big things we talked about while folks were out here for the Commander Summit is what is the philosophy around game changers. And there's 2 things that we kind of wanted to pull back on the game changer. So we started out with like only a small number of game changers. It was about
Where is this
40.
stream? It's on
I'm
Twitch.
going
It's
to
on,
interrupt you because I just want to stop chat from going off on this path. Are there any bans or unbans?
There's no
today?
bans or unbans today.
yeah.
No
we
bans
said
or unbans.
previously
Okay,
there will
interesting.
be no bans or unbans this year.
Magic,
We're not going
it's
back
just the
on
official
that.
Magic
You can start
Twitch
to
stream.
expect us to hear talk more about that next year. We did talk about that a bunch. And I will say there is, toward the end of this video, there is some ban and unban related discussion. we'll say.
Discussion, but nothing is actually
Nothing is actually
changing.
happening. We're just going to talk to you about some cards we want your opinions on.
Yeah.
Magic
Game
Mirror
changers
Patreon
list?
one? I don't-
Yes, change.
I don't even know what we would
Bans,
do.
unbans, not change.
Right, so-
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure
No, that-
chat didn't go off on that path for a bit. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Good call out there.
So no bans or unbans, but
Okay, so
Game changers, okay.
we want to talk some around the philosophy of what makes a game changer a game
Well, I'll
changer.
go through
We
the
did a bunch
article
of
on
discussion
stream,
around
if it comes out.
around that. You know, we started with about
article
40 or
comes
so
out
of them
on
when we rolled out the system.
at 11,
Then we
which I
added
think
in
I'm
a
gonna
bunch
record the
more.
podcast.
And our general feeling
So
is we
we'll
went a little
probably,
overboard. Right? We tried to correct for being a little too low.
We'll probably
shot a
just
little
like
high. Now
talk
let's
about
bring
it there.
back
I might do
little
a little bonus
and
thing
there's
on
kind
Patreon.
of two kinds of cards categorically we want to roll back on. The first one is expensive, high mana value game changers.
Sure.
In Commander, there are so many cards that are 7, 8, 9 mana. That if you cast them, yeah, the game is going to change because you spent 8 mana on them and it's a rare or
Yeah.
something like that, right? There's plenty of those out there in the world, and the delta between the best one and the next best one is not that gigantic, and there'll be tons more of these in the future, right? So we wanted to kind of pull back on that and really focus game changers on a lot of the lower mana value cards that are the ones that come at down early and really warp a game around them, right? Because ultimately, if your opponent casts a spell on turn 8 and it ends up crushing everybody, you're like, well, yeah, it's turn 8. That happens. But if they cast a card on turn 2 or 3 and it snowballs your advantage really fast, that's where it really feels like, wow, you're playing at a different level than me.
Yeah.
The second thing we wanted to kind of categorically look at is commanders. And I referenced this
that's a good.
a
Well,
bunch.
let's
That's a good
so
idea.
for,
Okay.
let's do the
Just a re-
individual
All right.
cards first.
All right, so let's bring in 4 cards that are
Yeah.
coming off. Here's 4 cards we're taking off the list.
Oh, these are off the
Expropriate,
game changers list.
Jin Gitaxias
Whoa.
Warauger, Sway of the Stars, and Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger.
Wait, Vorinclex?
Kind of talk through each of them
Oh,
a
I
little
can
bit
put
here.
one more game changer back and mean
Expropriate,
undead.
incredibly powerful card. If you've ever been on the receiving end of this, it's strong because basically what happens almost every time is you vote for an extra turn, everyone else votes for steal a permanent, and you end up with an extra turn and a permanent from everybody
Right.
else.
All right, Sway of the
Really
Stars is
strong,
fine. I don't give a
but
crap if it's
it is
not a
9
game
mana.
changer.
You're allowed to do pretty powerful things
Vorinclex,
at
I'm
9 mana.
surprised.
It also exiles itself. You're not
High
looping
mana
stuff,
cards
and a lot of the brackets
deserve to be
call out
strongly played.
extra
I agree.
turns, right? So
I
if
think
your deck
Jin
is built around looping
Gitaxias
extra turns, you
is
can't do
perfectly
that
fine
for
to stay
lower
off the
brackets.
game
So
changers
it's less of
list.
a concern. Jin Gataxias, same deal. It's a 10 mana card.
Expropriate,
yes,
9
you get
mana. You can't
play
reanimate
early.
it.
Yes, you draw
It's a
7 cards,
sorcery.
but also a removal spell takes it down, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 mana, once again, it's so pricey. Sway came off the Game Changers list.
I don't know. I
came
guess
off the ban list,
maybe they'll
excuse me,
talk about it
earlier
here.
this year onto the Game Changers list. At the time, we were like, we're not really worried about this card being a problem.
Oh, look at that. It's
but let's
3/3
see how it
Elk in the
plays
chat.
out. And so far, I've heard of very little reports of this card being problematic. And at 10 mana, I think it's well within the World Fire range of like World Fire is on a Game Changer. This is probably in the same category. Vorinclex is very much in a similar vein. It's annoying, it's frustrating, it does some mana denial stuff. But at 8 mana, once again, I mean, green can ramp into it a little bit. That's strong, but also you can be casting Nyx Bloom Ancient and all kinds of cards by the time you hit that mana value. So we want to kind of pull back on some of these. And there's a couple notable ones that we did not pull off, and we'll get to those a little bit later.
Yep.
I'll talk about those a little bit and the reasons why we didn't touch them at this time. But now, all right, so now we can talk about the second
Now
category.
let's talk about the next category, commanders. Yeah.
Okay, great. So when it comes to playing Commander, there's one thing you know before the game starts, and that is the other people's commanders, right? You're always going to know what that is before it starts. So it is the easiest thing to have a pregame discussion about and talk about, or be like, hey, I just don't feel like
So are they
going to
remove
today, right?
commanders from the
And
Game
so
Changers list?
we
I'm
want to
kinda
draw
interested
some
in that.
lines over what makes a legendary creature on the Game Changer list. And kind of where we landed was, if a card is unfun or really strong in the 99, then that's still eligible to be a Game Changer. So for example, Turgrid, really unfun, strong in 99s of discard decks, that's staying on the Game Changers list. But there's some that we wanted to pull off that we think are pretty fine in the 99s.
I
of a lot
bet
of decks.
Winota is going to come off the list.
And if it's someone's commander, you kind of know what's up if these are someone's
Yeah.
commander. So let's bring those up on screen here, and I'll kind of talk through them. These are the 4 cards that are coming off.
What?
Urza,
No.
Artificer, Eureka, the Titan Shadow, Kinnan, Bond of Prodigy.
You can't say
and Winota
Turgrid is
join
strong
our
in the
forces.
99 of discard deck, so it has to be a Game Changer.
Kinnan has a lot of infinite mana combos. that
And
you
not
can do.
say that
Yeah, I
about
mean, these are
Urza.
all heavy hitters here.
They're all heavy hitters. And, these
Wait,
can play in the
Urza
Phoenix,
is
right? They're
100% so
very
strong
powerful
in-
cards. But if your opponent sits down, their
No,
commander
that's
is Eureka.
crazy.
Like that's a great time to prompt that conversation, have that pregame conversation about, hey, what is your deck
Eureka,
trying
I
to
get
do?
it.
And if
In
it's
the
same thing
99
every other
of a
your
deck in
deck
bracket
is trying to
2,
do,
Eureka's
kind of
fine.
know what you're in for.
Whatever.
And
Like,
if
I
it's,
get
hey,
these.
It's actually a really
Urza
easy
in the
EDP,
99
and we tell you
artifact
about it a little
is
bit, then maybe
broken.
Yeah.
The other thing is, it's a really cool 99 card, right? There's a lot of people that would love to have this ninja effect in their 99 of their blue-black deck. We don't want to take that away from people, right?
I do
There's plenty
agree
of decks that would be
Everyday
interested in using
Mystic.
99. Urza being a good example of it being a really
you wanna
fun
aim for
and
commonly
exciting,
played
strong
cards,
card
but Urza's been
in the
reprinted
99
a couple
artifact
times. It's a
decks,
reasonably
but not
common
necessarily
card.
a game changer. Urza's definitely one I think that probably had the most debate around it.
Yeah, I'm
If it
sure
was-
Urza had the
if
most
it's
debate around
tier
it.
or not. We're going to take it off at this time. But Urza's, I think maybe the one that is most on the line.
I
but
think
that was
out
worth
of
pulling
principle,
these
I'm
guys
just
off.
not
And
gonna
now
add
they're
Urza to my
free
bracket
be,
2 artifact
in
deck.
your 99s. If they're your commanders,
Like,
once again,
that's
start that pregame conversation
crazy.
about
I think that's a
what
mistake.
you're doing. So.
All right.
That's
next
such a mistake.
category is not a category.
There's also, so there's 2 other cards we want to take off the Game Changers list, just because we
I'm glad they're
overshot
taking
on
these
them a little
off,
bit
though.
for-
That's
for
what I
2 pretty
wanted.
different reasons. I think we'll just put them on the screen.
Kinnan
I'll
in the
talk about what they
99,
are
I think,
and
is
kind of why they're
less
coming off.
crazy.
The first one is Food Chain.
Ooh,
Now,
Food Chain
has a
coming off?
really strong
What?
pedigree history of combos.
I guess it's 'cause,
Yeah.
it's caught by the
Tons of
combo
combos with
rule.
Food Chain. You play this in Prosh, and you're golden, right? You're good to go. The thing is, we put it on there just to be like, oh yeah, it's a combo card. We put it on here. But if you're playing with the Game Changer system and brackets, there's already rules around combos governed into what you can be doing, right?
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
So we felt pretty safe around taking Food Chain off at this time, because also there are some fair things to do with this card as well, and we didn't want to have it on there unnecessarily. Noting that yes, all the rules for combos still apply.
Elk is
so,
probably really
don't
mad that
build your
Deflecting
brackets
Swat's
with
coming off
Food
the
Chain
Game
across
Changers
combo
list.
deck. Yeah, that's not a thing you should be doing. The
Bro
Deflecting
hates
Swat is a
that
card that I think we just overshot on a little bit. We're like, free spell, strong, Fierce Guardianship on list, Deflecting Swat 2, and
I think it's
just
fine
not
to
as
take
strong
SWAT
as
off the
Fierce
list.
Guardianship.
to be honest.
Spell is much stronger than being able to only be able to hit some spells. Yes, you can get bonuses if you redirected Divination or whatever, a draw spell to yourself. I'm not saying that Deflecting Swat is weaker in all scenarios than Fierce Guardianship, but it is a card where a lot of the time.
No,
it
I
doesn't
feel
quite
that
work
that
the way you
deserves
want
to be a
it
game
It needs
changer.
a
That card
specific
is
scenario. It doesn't hit
like
board
comical.
wipes. It does. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's a lot weaker in a lot of different.
I don't think they're
areas.
gonna add
Also, Clear
Deadly
Identity
Wall
plays
of
a
Yoshi, I don't
non-zero factor too, right? Like red having this ability is a lot different from blue having a free counter spell on top
Yep.
of everything else. So we're pulling these cards off today, and those are the cards that are coming off the Game Changer list. That's the entirety of the Game Changer list changes for today.
Yep.
Oh, that's all the
I also
changes.
want to call out that we kind of recognize this is we started with a bunch of cards on the list. We had a bunch of cards on the list. Today we're taking 10 cards off the list.
Yep.
It's a lot of change. We think
yeah,
we're getting
Yoshi,
pretty
there's no way
close
there's
though, to
that.
like what the right list is, and we think in the future we won't have as large scale changes.
Yeah.
Well, unless we have like a strong philosophy change, like
I do agree. Deflected Spot, yeah, it pushes out other cool red
options.
options.
I think in
but,
general,
like,
we'll be looking on the scale of a handful of cards, not.
I don't think it should be a game changer.
Sure.
Changes.
Now, in the again, and this is a future thing because there are no bans or unbans today. But is the philosophy still if a card is on the ban list and gets unbanned, it gets moved to the game changers list?
Absolutely, that's still the philosophy. I think that's kind of just good practice we want to do.
Yeah.
Let's just always slide that down. That's a nice fail safe, and I think it's just the right process.
Do I think
to go through.
field enables
I
faster
think
wins?
it will
No,
not be
but I
uncommon
do think
in some
field
cases
is a
for that to
card
happen and to fall off.
that
That's the way
if you
the Stars did
don't
today, for example.
Yeah.
Sway we thought was pretty
know
safe.
about
banned
or
it.
think about,
It was
it
totally
works
fine,
the game.
as far as we can tell, and we moved it on down.
Similar to humility. Humility
but,
is fine as a game changer because
I
it is a
think
card
it's
that
good practice to go through.
can really punish
Now
new
you mentioned
players
earlier too that there
in a
were
unique
some
way.
noteworthy cards that were
I think
staying
Field of
on
the
the
Dead
list
does the
that
same.
sort of fit some of the definitions you were talking about. So
What do you
let's
miss?
talk about those.
They
We've got another graphic.
we'll pull it.
Personally used.
Changed a couple of
kind of on the
things
line for
on
us,
the
and I want to
game
talk about why
changer
we
list.
left them on at this
Yeah.
time.
No bans
Consecrated
or
Sphinx was
unbans.
really on the line. We were pretty split on if this card should come off or not. Kind of where we ended was two things. One, the difference between 6 and 7 mana is pretty gigantic. So we're like, this is 6 mana, not 7. We'll leave this on here for now. The other thing is there's this clone interaction with Consecrated Sphinx, which really is a wacky thing that happens in games where if an opponent clones it, which frankly among 3 other opponents is not that uncommon, you kind of just get to collude and draw as many cards as you want, which is a little funky. But we're interested in feedback on all the cards on the screen. So if you think this card should come off, we'll be looking at it for a future update. We kind of wanted to see how this.
I think Coalition Victory is fine to come off.
Yeah.
Coalition Victory does fit the definition of an expensive game changer. It is an 8 mana, 5 color card.
Yeah.
The difference is it does win you the game instantaneously, and it's very easy to put in any 5 color deck. It also just came off the ban list, and we haven't had that much time with it. Unlike Sway of the Stars, which I've heard very little happening about. I have heard about a handful of Coalition Victory wins and it being a pretty big deal in games. So I think this was one that has a decent chance of coming off at some point, but we want to leave on for a little while longer.
That probably
And kind of that
means it's
same
coming
thing
off.
goes to Panoptic Mirror, right? A lot of the rules around combos govern if Panoptic Mirror is going to be a problem
Banning
or
Coalition
not,
Victory just
but it's still
made
pretty
me-
fresh off the ban list. It's not as clear of a move as Sway of the Stars. I think there's a decent chance all 3 of these cards could come off the
Urza,
game
Yuriko,
changer
Winota,
list
and
at some point or
Keenan are no
another.
longer game
We kind of
changers.
wanted to make this first
Escorpiades,
round of changes, get your thoughts
Four
on
class
it,
Sway. The Stars
see if
of
you think
Ignition
these
no
cards
longer game
should be
changers,
pulled
yeah.
down from game
Those are the
changers.
changes.
But yeah, all 3 of these are certainly kind of the next in line contenders under the changes
Joey,
we're talking
if you think that Field of the
Now,
Dead
there were,
makes
as we talked before the show, a couple of
2/2s,
topics that
then
the group talked about.
I think you're playing the card
the
wrong.
Commander Format panel discussed. Some
Well,
of that
I'm
is
playing
still
Field
in
of
the
Dead.
works.
I have
and we're
5
not gonna bring
copies
up
of
today,
Field
but
of the
there were
Dead
a
in play,
few
and I'm
items
doubling
that I
all the
know you
triggers,
wanted to
and I have
discuss.
a billion
The
zombies,
first
and the game is
one
over.
being Ristic Study, which is always a topic of conversation.
Yeah, so
Oh,
there's kind of
finally, we're
4
talking
things
about
gonna talk
Ristic Study.
today and cover in the article. So the
was
first
hoping
2
it was
are
gonna
about
get
cards
banned
that
here.
are certainly hot topics in the world of Commander, and the first one being Ristic Study. So Ristic Study is a very powerful Magic card in Commander. It is, I think,
Food Chain and
become
Swap Government
near
too, yeah.
synonymous with the format. Soul Ring,
No,
don't
don't put Ristic Study in the same tier as Soul
and then
Ring.
Ristic
It's-
Study, right?
it's not the
You pay
same.
one is a,
It's not in every precon. It's not a $1 card.
This is a really powerful card that can really warp games. I know, especially at some of the higher brackets, CDH, for example, it's a very.
Because you're
good
not
card.
allowed to eat Ristic Study. That's a good rule.
It's also an Omega iconic card. It is a card.
No,
that,
it's
once
not
again, when you think
iconic.
of
It's
Commander, you think of
not.
this
People
card.
hate this card.
We talked a lot. We did some early kind of like BNR discussions about what we want to do, and kind of our current philosophy on this card is it's just so iconic and so beloved by a lot of players, as far as we can tell, that we don't want to ban it at this time.
No, it's not
But we wanna hear
beloved by
opinions on it,
players.
because
It's not
over
like
time,
Soul
we've
Ring.
heard a lot of things from the community, a lot of thoughts around Mystic Study. So really open to you, really want to open the hey, over the next couple months, let us know what you think about this.
Look
card.
at the chat.
it's possible
People
that
are like
there's a large
beloved.
community of people out there at the casual level who actually really do not enjoy this card that we just aren't hearing from.
Yeah.
And so we really want to be able to get some extra opinions around this card, because if we were ever to take action on this card, it would be a really big
Iconic
deal for
means
Commander,
everyone says
and
play
we
the
don't want to
app.
do that without
So
getting a lot
lame.
of community feedback in. So please let us know what you think. And I'll say, as far as communication channels go, obviously social media is always great. You can ping us on social media. Obviously, any of the content
This
creators
is
out there will
like
be making all kinds of videos around
top
these topics
5
in the days
Salt
to come,
Spore
I'm
card on
sure.
EDH,
But a great
right?
place
It's
is our
not,
community
like,
Discord.
iconic.
Social Magic to Gather in Discord. We have a whole channel set up for Commander. That's always a place that you're welcome
The
to go put
Discord's
stuff in.
being updated today to put to give
That's
some
so
channels
funny.
for these kinds of discussions.
cannot
so
believe they're trying to,
definitely
like,
head there
shill this
today.
as, like,
it'll be set up
Soul
to
Ring
tell us what you
status.
think about Ristic Study and other changes.
And yeah, the great thing is, we have our community managers monitoring it, and they kind of roll all the feedback you write there and send
Dude,
it all
look
up to us, so we get it all in there. So even though you might not see me like posting in there, we get updates from them on all the stuff we talk about, which is really great. So shout out to the
What is this? The
hardworking community manager.
fifth saltiest card?
Absolutely.
Okay, the second card,
Where
very
Sol
much,
Ring is not
in
even,
a
like,
similar
close to this
discussion
list?
vein,
Come
is,
on.
many of you could maybe guess it. It's Thassa's Oracle. This is a very interesting situation. Thassa's Oracle, of course, 2-card combo with Tainted Pact, Demonic Consultation. It's kind of the premier win condition.
Probably a YouTube named after it, yeah.
So when we, well, I say we, but this was long before I worked on Commander. When Flash was banned years ago, it was kind of this thing where it was a huge problem in CDH.
Why are
The
people
whole CDH
subscribing
community
to
generally felt like,
this
hey,
with
we
Prime?
want
Like,
we
what?
want Flash to go, and it saw
This is money to
no
Wizards.
play really fairly.
Use that
So
on the
it was-
creator.
It was a decision that made a lot of sense to the
Yeah.
the rules committee at the time. Like, hey, CDH doesn't want it. It's not seeing any play in mainline Commander. Let's get it out of here. Thassa's Oracle is a bit more of a wrinklier situation.
I don't think Sid
From
is a
what we
regular
can
situation.
tell, and we open
Oracle
feedback
doesn't
on
see
this,
play in casual.
CDH seems kind of split as to if they like this card or not. Some people like it, some people don't. We'd love feedback from the CDH community on this. We really welcome it.
I do agree.
And
It
also,
is a
we
bit
don't
split.
have
in
an
the
idea
CDH
of
community.
how much is seeing play and just really casual games, right? Like, is this 2-card combo really oppressive at bracket 3 and bracket 4, which are more casual?
This card does not
focused, right?
show up
And
at
bracket 2, of course,
lower
ruled out
brackets.
because
Like,
Thassa's Oracle is a game changer already.
doesn't matter.
But or players aren't using the bracket system. Is this happening at your in-home games? Would love to hear from you. Like, is this a
See, I
frustrating
think the
thing?
problem
Are you
it's
happy
not.
to have it around?
He's talking
It's
about
hard to really
consultation
open
combo.
feedback on.
Consultation
Once again,
combo isn't
our general
happening at
position,
casual games.
with bans
But
is
in games
we
where they
prefer to really
draw their
use the
whole
game changer
library,
list where
this is an
possible to monitor this
uninteractive
stuff, so we
win
don't really wanna ban
compared to
it.
Lab
That's
Man,
absolutely
which is an
necessary.
interactive. It's
But we'd love
just
to get more
not good
feedback
for the
on this
game.
card. So for both Ristic and Thassa's Oracle, we're
I don't
definitely
care as much
currently
about
in
this
the
ban,
not
to be
playing the
honest.
ban camp, but we really want to hear your feedback on it. Right? It's possible
ultimately,
that there's going to be
I care more
a lot
about the
of
Ristic one,
opinions
'cause
that come
that,
out
like,
over,
actually affects
over the
casual
next
games.
few weeks as folks are talking about this that are like, no, please,
But,
make
this card's
us
lame.
willing to actually
I
get
hate
rid of
this
these
card.
cards. So
Yeah.
we're going to be listening to you and listening to the community is really important to us on these things. So
If we also did a
definitely-
Ristic
definitely
Study
something we
negatively
wanna
affected our opinion on
All right,
Spider-Man,
the
we couldn't
next
have You're right, it's
topic,
true.
again, another long time topic
Yeah,
is
can I intro this one a little bit?
Yes, please.
Okay, so before putting graphics on screen, I want to intro this a little bit because this is sorry to cut you off, Blake, but
No, you're good.
this is a long-standing Commander topic, right? This has been in the Commander discourse for ever.
Yeah.
We talked through a lot of potential rules changes while the rules committee was here, and maybe this is the one that I think had the most discussion around it, and is the one that I want to float to the community because I know a lot folks have talked about this a lot. It is a thing that would open up a lot of cards to be played in decks, and also do some pretty cool things for Magic design as
Planeswalker
well.
legality? Oh, is that what was
And
happening?
that is hybrid mana. Let's go ahead and. put
Oh,
it
damn it,
on
hybrid
the
mana.
top
Yeah,
here.
I don't care about hybrid mana
So
that
when
much.
we're designing hybrid at Wizards, we treat it as an or, right? We're very much like you can put this in a green or a white deck.
Like, there's
right?
no
So
way.
that's
There's
how we
no way
design
they're
it.
changing
That's how
this
hybrid
rule.
is designed. So with Risk Redeemed, we're like, great, this card can go in a green or a white deck. That's how it works. And these days, when we make hybrid mana cards, we make them under the color pie rules of both colors, and often they're weaker than monocolor cards because they have to. Other color can play them. Commander is the place where that or is suddenly treated as an and,
Yeah.
which is strange. It's kind of the one place where that's true. And
does make color identity
there's
really
just a lot of
messy.
cool cards that are locked away under hybrid. That would be awesome tools for monocolor decks.
They're
Always
not
finding ways to
unbanning
make
gold.
monocolor decks stronger, and getting access to, say, Kitchen Finks in your mono white or mono green deck would be like a really cool thing to have access to. We've also been coming out with more hybrid recently, and there's more hybrid to come in the future. And letting players have access to those cards, I think, would be a pretty cool thing for us to be able to do from a design perspective. It opens up a lot of things. And then from a Commander deck building perspective, it's just cool to have access to a lot of these cards. So I want to talk through a few of these examples on the screen. So the proposal would be that strictly for the purposes of deck building,
Okay.
and only the purposes of deck building, you can treat it as though it is an or. So Risk the Redeemed here could go in a green deck, a mono green deck. It could go in a mono white deck. It could go in a white red deck or whatever.
Does that mean
or it
Beseech
could
the Queen
command
could
your
go in
green white
any
deck as
deck?
normal, right?
Yeah.
You can choose which you want for it to be. When it's on the battlefield, it is still a green-white card. If you play it in your mono-white deck, it is still a
And I also want
card.
to, I also want to, just because I'm seeing where chat's going with this. This is Gavin talking through a hypothetical.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not making a
Yeah.
rules change today.
Right. I want to be clear. These are all things that we are asking your opinions on.
Yes.
Right. We want to hear from you. That is the whole point of why we're telling you. We're like, instead of just making changes, let's hear what the community thinks. Right.
Yes,
Death Shaman
so
is
this
kind
is
of a
point
bad
discussion,
example.
not a
Or maybe it's a
change
good
being made
example
today.
because it's kind of messy, right?
Yeah. Okay, continue.
Great. Perfect.
The two activated
So
abilities
we
with
would treat
different
it as an
colors.
ore just for deck building. On the battlefield, they would still be exactly what it is. If you had Hydroblast in your deck, you would kill a red-blue hybrid card or something like that.
Yeah.
This does not, going to the example on the right of Deathrite Shaman, this does not change what you need to do with the symbols and text boxes. So Deathrite Shaman is still locked to a black-green color identity card. Right?
Yeah.
This is a card that you could not put in your deck if you're mono-green because it still has a black mana symbol.
Vine
on it.
has a black
That
mana
still
symbol
works
here
as
and a green
intended.
mana symbol. Okay, so
And then
you
in cases like
have to play this
Two-Brid
in
in the
blue
middle,
card deck.
like
Okay,
Beseech the
I
Queen
see.
here, we call this Two-Brid in Magic Design. We could make it work a number of different ways, but I think the most intuitive way is just it's treated exactly the same way as an ore. If you want to put this in your deck and cast it for 6 mana,
So
or
that would mean
maybe you do some stuff
every
with Gilded Lotus
single
to be able to cheat it for triple black at off color.
deck could
we
play
would let you-
Beseech
let
the
you do
Queen
so. I think
then.
that's our inclination. So we discussed this a lot.
So my
as a format
mono green
panel.
deck can turbo ramp and then have
you know,
like a
some people were
demonic
like, this
tutor
sounds great, let's go
effectively.
for it. Some people were a little more hesitant. You know, we talked about this a lot on the design team. So really what we thought is like, hey, there's
You
been a lot of
still need
discussion
green
around
mana
this.
if you are.
Let's
So
open it
with
to
Deathrite Shaman with
the
this change,
community
you would
and
have
be
to
like,
play it
hey,
in a green
we're really
black
looking at
deck.
this seriously. What do you
Because
think
this
about
is
it?
a
Like, would
mono
you
black
have
symbol
more
and the
tools for
same
your
mono
decks?
green
Would
symbol.
you be like, oh,
Because
that's
remember,
kinda
color
weird to have these
identity
rolling
isn't just a
around.
cost; it's everything.
It could be.
So
Yeah,
this has to be in a
interested
two-color
in your
deck.
opinions on
Whereas
it.
this is
I mean, based
all
on chat, it
hybrid,
was just
meaning
yes,
it
no,
could go
yes,
in
no,
a
yes,
mono
no,
green
yes,
or
no,
mono
yes,
white.
no. It's
If they
definitely
made this
something
rules
that people are
change, which they're not
split on.
currently.
But yeah, head to the Discord and we can have that discussion.
Yeah, we'd really love to hear from you on this one.
There's a Discord for this?
And yeah, I think
What
it gives
Discord
us,
is this?
It would give you a lot of cool monocolor tools, both now and in the future. Some extra.
I agree. I think it is actually cleaner as it is now. I think
All right,
this
we are
example
nearing the end.
exactly
We
is
do
kind of
have
confusing.
one more topic we want to touch on, but before we get to that, we do have time for some questions.
If you're casting a
So-
2-mana
There's
6-mana
also
tutor,
the
I understand.
fourth-
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
appear.
we're gonna get there.
You know, like
we're
mono
gonna touch
green,
more.
the
Perfect.
ability
we are going to talk
to
some more,
have
but
a
I want to
tutor
give,
anything
if
type
you
effect,
have
right?
questions, it helps me
And if you just
tag them
turbo
as
ramp
at
really
Magic,
hard, or if
and then
you're
I'll
like,
start
I'm going to
watching
make
chat
infinite
now,
mana in
and
my
then
mono
once
white
we
deck,
hit
I now have a
questions,
demonic
we can
tutor.
start running
I know
with
it's
them.
6
So-
mana,
you
but
still get at this
it
point,
like
you
lets you
just-
do all
you
these
have to
changes.
get ready to send
I'm just
questions.
teeing things
So
up
yeah,
here.
Beseech the
never
Queen would
question
be
the press.
colorless
Never
in this
question the
situation.
All right.
It also means you could
What's our next
play like
topic,
Exotic
before we get to
Orchard
questions?
or
this is the fourth
Mana
thing I want to talk about.
Confluence in
We've
your
heard from the
mono green
community
deck to
a
pay for the
decent
black
amount.
mana to just cast
There's
it
some
for its 3
interest
mana
in a
cost.
6th bracket,
Yeah.
another bracket. And we talked a lot about if we wanted to do this and how we wanted to do it. And kind of there's two places. What we don't want to do is get into like, oh, we're adding a ton of new brackets, and we're back to having like
Yeah,
10
you could
points on
cast
the scale,
Beseech
and
for the
more-
black
more
with
granular you
treasures.
get,
So in your
the
mono red
smaller
Magda
groups are
deck,
for
you would now have
bracket,
access
harder
to
find
Beseech
games for your bracket,
for
et cetera.
triple black if you just cast it with the
So,
treasures.
but we are very keen on looking into maybe one more bracket. I don't think you really want to go above one more. And there's kind
You
of
can
two
already
natural
build
places
mono
to
white
put it.
Lurrus. What? Oh, you mean put Lurrus in your mono white deck? Oh,
And I guess to say before I say this, our hope is also
true.
that, by the way, with these changes, some of the changes we're making today, like decoupling precons from core, bracket 2, some people will move from bracket 3 into bracket 2 a little bit.
Treasure
There's a
mix
movement
it.
happening there,
Yeah.
and a little.
It made treasures
also
way
some
more
of
powerful, yeah.
The information we gave about brackets, what we expect, we think there might be a little bit of movement around that might help some people that felt a little stranded.
Yeah.
So maybe we might not need to add a bracket at all, which is also why we wanted to wait and get your opinions. Anyway,
Love
there's
for the
two main
companion.
places we think we could put it. And
Yeah.
it's between bracket 2 and 3.
Yeah, let's put the bracket. Yeah, there we go.
You
It's
can't
between
you
bracket
can't
2 and
currently
3
build mono white
and between
Lurrus.
bracket 3
No.
and 4. And there's kind of two different things happening here.
Like you can't
First,
put it in a mono white
Let's
deck.
start with between bracket 3 and 4. We've heard from some players they want to be able to play with unlimited game changers. Like I want to play all my cards they're awesome, unlimited game changers. You know, all these like big, powerful swinging
Oh, they're
cards.
talking about
But I
this.
don't want it to be as fast as optimized often is, right? I don't want it to be like, wow, the game is over really quickly, or selling just mega combos. I just want to be able to play all my favorite game changers. So that's I've heard that a number of times from players. Maybe that's the place we should put it. The other place we could potentially put it is between 2 and 3, right? There's people that are like, well, I want to play with no game changers still, but I want a little higher power level. Or maybe put a different way, I want to play with game changers, but keep kind of the power level of 2. There's two different ways you could maybe strike that, right? And so we're interested if we do add a 6th bracket, kind of where we would put it.
I think
and so we're interested in community
between
feedback
2
on
and
should
3
we add a
isn't
bracket,
super
and
useful.
if so, which of those places would you want it to show up in?
I
'Cause,
think
we've seen some
between
discourse around
3
this
and
already,
4
but
makes
kind of
more
focusing
sense.
it on that basic question of should we do it and where should it go, I think will give us a lot of good feedback. So please let us know.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think 3 to 4 is where the bracket is needed because
before we make
there's
some
like
big format
a
level
massive
decisions,
difference between
let's
like
get your opinions on them, right?
my
Like Commander is a
optimized
community
stacks
format.
list that's
We wanna hear what
borderline
the community
CEDH
has to say, right?
and
that makes a lot of sense. So
Precon with
please,
4
send us
game
your stuff,
changers,
post
you
in
know?
Discord,
But
put
those
it
are
on social media
like I
to
feel
us.
like there should be
If
something
you're a content
here
creator,
between
make
3 and
the
4.
videos. I'm sure we'll be watching so
Yo,
much
what up,
content over the next
Travis?
2 weeks. I cannot even tell you.
What are you
So please, I
fuming
encourage
about? What
you
are you
to
mad
have these
about?
discussions and bring it back to us.
All right, let's move on to some
Need the
questions
zero bracket?
from chat.
Can we to jump for joy?
First
for the
question
hybrid mana roll?
up is about Phyrexian mana. So we talked a little bit about hybrid mana, but we didn't throw in Phyrexian mana. Do you view it the same?
What is even the
different?
CMC of it?
Any thoughts
2
on
colors,
Phyrexian
1
mana?
We did talk about it.
The CMC is 6.
I
for
think we
Besiege
decided that like you have to draw the line somewhere, right? Like Fierce Guardianship should not be able to be played in any commander deck, despite the fact you can cast it for free, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And Phyrexian mana is still designed to be that color,
Little bracket
right?
4
Where
decks
hybrid
with
is
bad
very
deck building
clearly
principles that get
designed
sad
to
when they
be
lose to bracket 4
either
decks with
color,
good.
right?
Yeah.
That's how
I
we
mean,
make all
you
the
could say
cards
that
these
about every
days.
bracket.
So being able to splash, say, Gut Shot in your mono white commander deck feels a lot more trans aggressive than playing your white green hybrid card, where it is already intended to be able to go into white decks
Yeah.
in your mono white deck. So no, we would not be touching Phyrexian mana at this time.
I mean, that makes
All right,
sense. I
any
feel like every
progress
deck
with the
having
Silver
a
Border
Border would
project?
kind of suck.
Yeah. So
Tutors out. Oh, you're mad about the
Silverboard project
tutors
is still
thing.
something on our radars.
They
What I'll say is
figured it
actually,
out.
You want to go ahead and pull that
You can
graphic
only
back
tutor
up,
for
wait
a
till
card
the
as
graphic
strong
back up.
as
One thing we're really
is in your
hoping
deck.
for
If there's
is
nothing
that with
strong in your deck to
Exhibition,
tutor for,
that
the
is a
tutor
great
isn't
place for a lot of
strong.
the silver border cards to live, right? Like
Yeah.
we want to really be clear, like, yeah, this is the place to do things that you wouldn't
Look,
normally
Travis,
do,
you're
right?
just wrong.
Yes, technically there's no game changers here, but if you have a thematic one, put it in, right? If you're building around an uncommander, this is the place for it. And we're hopeful that a lot of the decks that would want to use silver border cards will end up living in that space. I know that's not everybody. I know there's plenty of people who are at bracket 2 or even 3.
There's
that
so
are
many
wanting to
people
play
in
with
chat talking
silver
about
border
Pioneer.
cards.
It's
If you're not
actually
familiar with the
crazy.
silver bordered project, it was basically being able to go through all the silver border cards and list out which ones could be just cards you could play in your decks, more or less.
Yeah.
Something on
Yes,
our radar.
people
something
don't
we're
want
looking
to
at, we've
admit
had
that
a
their
lot of
homemade
other
deck
things we've been
is
talking
bad.
about.
This was the
So,
problem with the 1 to 10 scale.
Something on our
right?
minds, but no.
Is everybody was
update on
like, a 5 is a
All right.
precon. Well, my deck's
any
better
more
than a precon,
discussion
so it's
on
got to be at least a
banned
6.
as
But I'm goaded
commander?
at deck building, so it's got to be
Yeah,
a
we
7.
talked about it a bunch. We're always wary of how many lists we're creating and how many cards would go on that list. The number of cards that would end up being banned as commander is incredibly small.
Yeah.
We're open to feedback on it for sure. When we talked about it most recently,
Nah, I don't
we
want them
were
to do banned
not
as
super
commander. Banned as
interested
commander is like
in,
annoying.
banned as
There's
commander.
no reason to have too many lists like
but,
that.
you know, I'm always open to hearing more feedback on it, right? So if
Like
there's a
what's
strong
the
opinion, we'll
point
go
of
for it.
like
'Cause
banning
there's so few
Turgid as a
cards that could
commander
actually
and
go on
then
that
somebody
list.
just draws it and plays it and then
Like
you still
for
have the same
example, some
Turgid
folks would
problem? Like
argue,
I don't
hey,
know.
just put Urza on banned as commander. That'll solve that. But I don't want to take it out of the game. Some people really enjoy playing that card at bracket 4, even though it's
Yeah.
not maybe a commander we love seeing as much at bracket 2, right? So I think it's only a handful of cards that would actually go on that list.
But if you
I
don't
know
like
that-
seeing
I
it
do
in
know- I do
bracket 2 that
recognize
much, why did you take it off the
the
game
otter in the room
changers
that everyone
list?
loves Lutri. I get it. There's a lot of Lutri love out there. Maybe some other options for that card someday, but yeah.
I mean, the
but think-
Lutri solution
I
is
don't
easy.
think
Just make it so companions don't work.
Creating a banned as commander list for like 3
The
cards.
101st card,
Yeah.
that'd be stupid.
All right. I'll just read this
Oh,
question.
shit, it's
straight
Alex.
up.
Yo, what up, Alex?
First player in
It's always
turn order
crazy to me
versus fourth
when
player
people
win
claim
rate differences are
X-Precon was a
massive. The
5
average fourth player
or a
has half the
6.
win rate of the first
Like,
player.
obviously, they just played with some
whether or not
terrible
that's
decks
exactly
that
true or
could
not,
do
it
six.
sure feels pretty true. Any plans to address this?
Well, I'll say we actually did talk about this during the summit.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit that as it turns out, 3 days is not nearly as much time as I thought. Like we had so much to talk about and dug into these topics so deeply, we did not get to fully talk about that.
All right, this
But
is
it's
the
something that
Q&A
was on our
section.
radar.
Alex, do you
I
wanna do the
shout out- I
podcast
think it was
now?
specifically Deco on the group on the format panel, who was like, "Hey, I really want to make sure that we talk about this," because especially at like CDH levels, it's a much larger
Yeah.
deal. So it's something on our radar. We talked about a number of
companions, I know they're
solutions we could
cool,
look
but
at.
they're so
some points,
problematic,
ranging
like,
from,
inherently,
you know,
the way
should
they
there be,
work.
like extra mulligan
And then you could have-
bonuses or
if they-
whatever. But
'cause a lot of them
certainly
don't
nothing
even work in
anywhere
Commander
close to fully
anyway.
baked or anything we'd want to talk about.
Live
at this time.
podcast is
So no, I have nothing for you
crazy.
at this time, but I'll say it
'Cause
is
you
on our
have all
radar.
the
and
bits and
something that
bobs
I think
where we have
we
to
know we
cut
can
out
at
or-
the higher levels of Commander.
We say the same thing because we like
What is
completely
the timeline
worded it
for when
wrong.
feedback might lead to decisions? For example, when might there be a change made for Ristic study?
Let's
I mean, I'll
pause.
say
Okay.
we were discussing this right before the show. Actually, we've got some
Okay.
dates in mind, and we'll call it Q1 2026.
All right, Chad. I'm not going to
right
stick around
now, but
for
we're
the
still
Q&A.
finalizing exactly.
I think I'm going to go record
Yeah, I
the
think in the article
podcast
I say
now.
you'll know before the end of February.
Yeah.
And-
which
we're
I
gonna.
think that's pretty reasonable to say.
We'll talk about these
Maybe
changes on this,
Blake will check
this
the dates and be like,
upcoming
actually,
episode.
that was wrong.
It could
We
be
have
January, it could be
other topics.
February, but it'll
Thank
be
you for
in
tuning
that
into this.
space.
Right, so basically,
I think
I
this
guess
is
for a
very
timeline
interesting.
for us, what we're looking for is, I know how the Magic community works. We're going to get a whole fire
My
of
initial
feedback
thoughts
over the
are
next
I
2
like
weeks,
most
probably.
of the bracket changes so far, but
and
I gotta really
especially
think
over the
about
next
it.
week. And then we'll be looking at it all a bunch. We will talk about it over the next month or two, and that'll prime us up perfectly to come back in January or February with any changes we want to make. Right?
We
I
want
will note,
Hello
so
Live.
just a little plug for some of these things too. There's a Command Fest in Las Vegas this weekend, this upcoming
Mirror,
weekend.
mirror,
There's a
I'm
Command Fest
taking
in
Urza off the Game
Tacoma,
Changers list to ask,
Washington,
what is everyone's
the
favorite
weekend
Pokemon?
after. And then I forget where
That's
they're at,
good.
but there's 2 Command Fests in the first week of December
They're talking about Ristic,
as
my favorite.
well.
I know.
Those are going to be good places to try some of this stuff
They
out,
did
and
talk
then
about
come back and
Ristic,
tell us about
Travis,
your
and they were trying to
experience.
shill it as
One was
it's
Command Fest, in
iconic.
Australia. So shout out to my
Iconic,
Australian homies.
Ristic City, iconic, like Soul Ring. They talk
right,
about it like
let's
Soul Ring. That's
see.
crazy.
Would hybrid changes include DFCs like Avacyn, like Archangel Avacyn in mono white?
Oh,
August
that's an
title should be
interesting
Urza is the
discussion.
gut now.
I want to keep the focus. to
Urza's
just
always
at
been
this
kind of
point
a
in
gun,
time.
let's be real.
Tell
Tell Snail to post those Commander games y'all played on Tabletop.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Snail's
I think that
editing
is
it. Snail's in the editing
one we can
dungeon
talk about
working
more
on
than
it. But he
Phyrexian,
was working
but
on his
I think
video
let's-
that he got up today.
There's a lot of
about
cards you could
minutes.
potentially talk about. I think,
Which is a
you know,
good
keep
video.
just
You should go
hybrid,
see
where the cards are
Alex's
very much
video
designed
on
for like it literally has a white symbol partially on there.
Ristic is not only good against bad players.
I think is where we want to keep that discussion focused. So
Yep.
yeah, a good note, but a hybrid
Because the
is, I think, the
CCDH
only one
play.
we're looking at this time.
Any thoughts about splitting
You have a big
CEDH
Ristic
and
next to your
casual
desk.
commander with different ban lists?
How do you shuffle that?
You know, that's something that has been discussed, right? I think we're pretty interested in having all of Commander under one
addressing
umbrella
one more
and
thing
not
after
creating just tons
Q&A?
and tons of different lists.
Yep.
But it's certainly been discussed.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for Alex to get
let's
his coffee,
see.
to be honest.
All right. With a return to Strixhaven, lessons appearing in Avatar, and companions already working in Commander, is there any chance of sideboards coming to Commander?
Yeah, that was on our discussion for our discussion for the.
You've already
summit.
watched it? Oh, no, there's another one.
We talked about it a little
wait,
bit.
oh, did
we
he
had
post
a
it
bunch
on
of other stuff we were
Patreon?
trying to get through, so we didn't really finish that discussion. There's a lot of logistics come around with the sideboard. Some things include if we
Wish
allow for
boards,
wishes to work in Commander,
I kind of
it
want
means every
in
Commander
principle,
deck
but I
to
also
be optimized
like
should have
the
a wish board, because
simplification
what if
of
you-
it just
what if
being
someone
100
radiates a
cards,
cunning- or
no
whatever,
changes. But it's not 100
plays
cards, 'cause
Sway the
it's
Star.
stupid.
What's that
Yeah.
card?
Companions.
Eye of the Storm and Cunning Wish or whatever, right? Where
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
other players are copying it. A lot of weird stuff like that starts happening. Also, people have to carry around extra cards. It's going to be a whole thing. With that said, like I'm a Wish lover. I love Cunning Wish and Burning Wish. Are some of my favorite cards. Have always tickled me. So the idea of getting them to work in Commander would be really cool. But there's a lot of challenges that go along with that too. So I
think
do
a wish
we'll
board of 3
investigate at
cards
some
would be kinda
point.
cool.
But I would expect that investigation. I think more likely than not to turn up with no changes. It's possible. It could be something at some point or another. But we did. I will say it was on our radar. The number of topics we
Earlier
were
I
able to touch on
mentioned
briefly
you won't be
at
adding
the
Urza's back
summit
to
was
Artifact
pretty
Hacker
high, and,
Principle. Is that Taunos
it's actually
list?
pretty hard to hear the
Is it
community
the
be
game
like, oh, what about
changers
this? And
that-
I'm like,
yeah,
oh, we
back
actually got to talk about that. a little bit, so.
It is my Taunos list. I didn't just
We'll
cut the
stick with
game
the
changers
color
to
conversation.
drop it into bracket 2. I
so any
powered
conversations
it
about off-color
down
fetches?
before
So,
like the
you know,
win
using,
cons
like, a
changed.
flooded strand in your blue.
It was like a Mindslaver.
You know, one thing that's really
lock deck.
important is that formats
And I
have
changed
rules,
the
and ultimately there's
list.
going to be cards.
And
that
then
feel
I
a little
also
weird
cut the
within
game
those
changers.
rules.
Yep.
But you can't start making exceptions for every single
I mean,
card.
yes, Urza's
Well,
no
hybrid
longer
is
a
the thing
game
where it's like
changer. You can play it in
categorically,
your
it's easy
bracket
to look
two
at and be
deck
like
now.
this mechanic, this mana symbol works in a certain
When
way
we
now.
playing Pogo again?
But if you start looking at fetches, suddenly you're
well, I
thinking,
used my
what about
last
Urborg? What about
remote
Yavimaya?
raid
What
pass
about like
on that
you know,
raid
all
that
these
we did.
should
And I
Curd
refused
Ape
to spend
be only
money on
allowed
the
in
game,
green
so-
red decks? And then it's just it's a path that just makes it a lot more confusing.
Yeah.
We don't want to walk down that. So no, I think there are no plans to change that part of how things work. And overall,
Probably
like,
after
I
my
end the
trip,
article with
Travis,
this,
and then
the
we
article
can-
goes up. Commander's awesome. It's
We
like
can,
doing great. We're really happy with Commander.
Go play some Pogo.
We're looking at a handful of small tweaks and changes, but like I don't really want to make things overcomplicated. And I think the Curd Ape, the Curd Ape thing, the flooded string.
I actually have no game changers. Yeah, there's no game changers in my Taunos
to some
list.
degree.
Yeah.
Okay. I do see a question we can answer pretty quickly.
it had
asking
Cycrift, but I
about
just cut
changes
Cycrift.
to the game changers list. Yes, we made changes to that list today.
Okay, that calls
only
it
cards
bracket 3
being
automatically
taken
because of
off.
tutors.
Yep. And that'll
But guess
be an
what?
article.
That's gone. That's gone,
Yep.
baby.
So in about 15 minutes, that'll be up.
All right. The lads are calling me for the podcast. I'm gonna go
seen
do the
a couple
podcast.
questions
Thank you all
about
for tuning
any
into the
discussion
stream.
of Planeswalker